What's up, everybody? I go by the name of Domo.
And I go by the name of Yoshiko.
We sit with entrepreneurs and artists across disciplines to share their stories, insight, and gems. Their journey will inspire you to think about community and your own narrative, how it shapes who you are, and what your legacy will be. You're listening to No Blueprint.
No Blueprint.
No Blueprint.
No Blueprint.
You are listening to No Blueprint.
Rango, I'm shot, and like he's like Lean falls on me to hold him, and then he's a big Samoan, so then I couldn't hold him, and I just like lay him on the ground, and blood is coming out of his chest and his hand, and he's like, and he was still on point though too. He was like, he reached into his jacket, and go, hold my gun. So he still remember, I don't know, maybe it's a hot piece or something. Yeah. It's like, damn, bro, all right. So I put it in my pocket, and we're holding him, and everyone stops fighting because someone just got shot, So, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but the cops were already there, detective. They're just like watching our club. I don't even know why, and they charge and tackle the guy. That
What do you mean you don't know why?
Well, we're probably hot boys, right? Yeah, we're hot boys. I don't know. So he got arrested, and then then I was like, F, I got a piece on me. So while all this is going on, I run into the back of the club and I throw the piece into the bushes, and then I come back, and then everyone's around him, and then so we're in the hospital, we're in emergency room now, and it's like 4 a.m, and then his wife's there with his kid, and we thought he's gonna pass, right? And then she's crying, and we're all in the room like, dude. And then that's when I knew that God said, can you hear me now? Right. Then I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm out. And that was my last club night. That's why I got out.
That's real.
Yeah. And then he survived. Yeah, nice. he got out of the...
Shout out to Pete.
Shout out to Big Pete.
Nice.
He got out of security, and I got out of the club night at the same
he
time.
was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Rango don't pay me enough to do this.
I thought I was gonna be the first to see the folks that came in. I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
For real.
Actually, to bring up Rango starting real estate, I remember because you still worked at the catering truck sometimes, and I would help out sometimes. So I remember Rango and I were on the catering truck, and he told me that day when he thought about his real estate company and the structure of it, and he told me he couldn't sleep that night. I remember clearly, like, yo, I got this new idea, this real estate company, and you're like, this is how it's gonna, the structure and everything, and I remember that day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You're still in real estate, doing big things. You're still on YouTube, doing big things. So tell me, like, what lessons from your mother and the catering truck do y'all bring to your hustles, like, today?
I remember there's one time I had a birthday party, and my girlfriend had bought a cake that was too big, and we had leftover cake, and my mom, she took that cake, cut it up, and sold it on the catering truck. And it wasn't even like a question. Like, I was just like, all right. Like, she was like, no, you're not gonna have any more of this. And that, to me, really stands out. She packaged it up, like plastic wrap and all that.
That's dope.
And it's just stuff like that, like the little stories that really stand out to you when you're, pursuing your career.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sell water to a well. Man.
Yeah, the just my mom's hustle. I mean, we don't talk about her enough, but she still is our family matriarch. Like, she's our family's foundation. She's a giant, and just her working hard, man. Like, saving money, and she was cheap. Like, us growing up, me and Richie and the family, we got nothing. Like, I remember Richie started getting stuff because he was a little younger than us, and by that time we're starting to do okay. But when me and John was growing up, we were in the hood and we got nothing. And so, but just seeing her, my dad, like, even though my dad, shout out to my dad, he's around now still, but he was kind of always in and out. So it was always like my mom was consistently pinching pennies, trying her best to hold 6 kids together, still taking care of my sister in Vietnam, and just seeing her work ethic and her consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it could have went really south.
Really south.
It didn't,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I think that was a natural transition for Richie and I to get into entrepreneurship. Because growing up, our parents, you come over from Vietnam, you don't have any education. You don't even speak English. You just have this drive to to get to a better place, and that's what they did. They always opened businesses, from the Chinese restaurant in Arkansas that didn't make it after 3 years to landscaping businesses here in Seattle, and then the mobile catering truck, and that was our blessing. That was the one that got our whole family out of poverty. So that little truck that can.
That's dope.
Yeah.
But it's so dope to like the fact that your mom never worked for anyone else, and then y'all came over and figured out like from y'all, no, I'm not gonna work for anyone else either. Like I'm gonna go and get it out the mud, and I'm gonna do it myself, and all of it is completely legal, right? Like, cause it could have been the other way. That's super dope. Your mom is still to this day like one of my biggest inspirations, right? Like just to the point where watching how she raised all of y'all, like watching the times where like we were all knuckleheads and getting in trouble, but your mom was just like, meh, like just watching her grind to all the stuff she did for the church, and like, man, like, look, first of all, shout out to your mom because she's super dope. So Richie, you get to California. David gives you the tools. You gotta build your own house. I remember you like shooting the videos yourself, editing the videos yourself, writing the scripts to the videos yourself, like, and having to come up with the stuff for yourself. Tell me about like that journey of like elevation to where you are now, to where like you have a whole solid team of folks who help you run your business.
I mean, there was a learning curve. At first, I didn't really get it, and I was too concerned with like what was going on at home. I always like wanted to be back home, and I was wondering what my friends were doing all the time, and like, did I make the right move? And looking back at it, I'm like, man, you just moved to Cali. It wasn't like you moved across the world. But to me, that was a big deal for some reason, like just leaving everything behind. And yeah, it was a learning curve, and obviously there was like a really broke times. I remember I had no car. I was trying to apply to like Arby's because it was just walking distance. I was trying to apply to Arby's, GameStop. I don't even know anything about video games, but because I ran out of the money that I had made selling my car. Asked Rango to borrow some money for a music video, like stuff like that obviously really stands out to me, and it was just a learning curve. And I think looking back at it, I think that was probably the best way to go about it though. Like if I would have just had like $100K with me, and I don't think I would have been as hungry. And
good point.
Yeah, so even like David and Andrew, I always said to myself, I'm never gonna borrow money from them, like as bad as it gets, because I just want to hold my own, you know. I never wanted it to feel like they were pulling me along. So yeah, sometimes you have to edit yourself. I remember selling like a DSLR camera, and I was like, man, this doesn't make any sense because I'm here trying to make videos selling my camera. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Having to borrow cameras, you know.
Did you ever get a full-time or part-time job?
Yeah, so at one point I had no money at all. Yeah, so I got a part-time job at Nordstrom just to start paying some bills and video editing and everything. So I worked at Nordstrom, and I worked there for a whole summer, and it was really tough because you work at Nordstrom obviously all day long, and then at night you don't have any energy to make any videos. I was back with my girlfriend at the time, and I remember she said that you should not go back to Nordstrom. Like, I took a break. And she was saying, if you do go back to Nordstrom's, let me know, and I'm going to let you borrow some money. I actually like Nordstrom, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still mess with Nordstrom.
I liked working there. It was fun.
What was your moment? Like, what was the moment where YouTube became full-time for you, and what was it that, like, how did you get over that hump?
How it started clicking was when I first started doing YouTube, a lot of the times we thought that what would be successful was like Vietnamese cultural content. And that's what I started off doing. And that's what David always like really stressed to me, obviously, like the Asian angle. You got to represent Vietnamese. This is how you're going to make money. You got to be that representation. And obviously that had its place and time. It was when I started seeing a window for sneakers and clothing and advice. That's when I was like, man, this is what's really getting views. And this is what's really people want from me right now. So I kind of had to make the hard decision of like changing the guidance of David, obviously, and everything, to just focus on and doubling down on the sneaker fashion lane. And that's when things really started picking up. And there's like a wave, like the sneaker wave. Sneakers at one point, like a few years ago, were like everybody was talking about them, and I just took advantage of something that I saw like an opportunity, and that's when I really was like, okay, this could be serious now.
So Nick had a lot to do with your success because he hipped you to those
Yeah.
Black Jordan back when you guys
You know
were
what's
like
crazy
9 years
is
old.
Neek was I was so scared to move down to LA. You know when you're scared to do something, you want someone to do it with you?
Yeah.
I wanted Neek really badly to move to LA with me. He had no business really to go to LA. Like, there was nothing really. I was trying to talk. I remember, and I was like, yo, we're going to talk about this really seriously. So we used to communicate through email, like breaking everything down. And I was reading through these emails like probably like a year ago. And it's crazy. I was like really trying to talk him into it. And Don was like, I don't know, man. I don't got money. Like, I was like, don't worry, we gotta live in Pasadena. Like, and I didn't have no idea what Pasadena was back then. I just knew it looked nice.
And how old were you when you were making
like 20
this decision?
This was like when I was like 23.
23.
Yeah.
Right after college.
Yeah, right after college, and we had no money. And I remember I was so scared to go down there by myself.
Listen, I was thinking about it. I was definitely tempted.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't add up.
Yeah.
It didn't add up. But at the same time, I was really pushing Richie to do it because I was like, listen, like, you have David and Andrew down there.
Yeah.
Like you had a plan of what you wanted to do, and so it just made sense.
Dude,
Like,
you was always like Richie's future, and he was Rabbit in 8 Mile. No, for real, your future, bro. That's Rabbit, bro.
I would say that.
No,
like,
that's so
Dominic
true.
really had a big influence
I
on
saw
like
that.
guidance. You know what I mean? Like even prior to moving down to LA, and I would make songs like Dominic would like be the guy like
True.
feedback wise, or like just trying to even you try to shoot a music video.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nah, man, Richie's my guy, and vice versa, right? With everything that I do, I'm always, and still to this day, go to Richie, man, what do you think about this idea? And he'll be like, maybe you should think about it like this. And like I wholeheartedly appreciate that. What was the moment for you where you felt, or do you feel comfortable with the like structure, the business, and all of that? Do you feel like you have it together, or is it still like, man, I still need to jump hurdles?
I don't think you ever feel like you're gonna get it. Like I don't ever think you feel like you have it 100% down pat, even if you have like a really good running system and everything. I think being an entrepreneur, you're always chasing for something, which is kind of weird. But what was the question?
So like, how can I frame this? What am I trying to say? Just like,
Do I feel like I made it?
so like, do you? Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
that is
that's
the
pretty
question.
much
Do
it.
you,
Yeah, that's
do you
pretty
feel
much-
like you made it?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of blessings. I know that, I've came up, I feel like, but I don't feel like I've made it. I think when I feel like I've made it is when I've done something like incredible where like it just changed the world in a sense, you know what I mean? And I don't think I'm there yet, but I do see the influence and I do see how many people watch the videos and how much it's helped people. But no, I don't feel like I made
For
it.
the clothing, how did you come into that and like speak about? Because you and I have had conversations, but speak about like the influence and the importance of you doing your own clothing, and maybe like, was there some fear there?
Clothing to me was always like really big. I've always been in clothing just as much as sneakers. And for myself, I knew if I ever wanted to start a clothing line, I knew I couldn't just come out with your traditional screen print tees. I always saw this growing up, and anytime I saw a company come out with a clothing company and it just has designs on their t-shirt, I'm like, what are you thinking? Like,
Thank you.
yeah. How are people gonna buy a shirt for your logo? They don't even like know your brand yet and everything. And I was just like, if I'm gonna come out with a clothing line, I would want it to be this way. Right. And that's exactly what my friend Tan and I did. It was crazy how it came about. We were just sitting at Foot Locker, and a lot of people tell you like, hey, I could help you out with clothing if you ever want to do it, but nothing happens from it. And I remember we were sitting at Foot Locker, and this guy who could barely speak English came up to me. He's like, hey, my family back in China does a lot of clothing manufacturing. And I'm like, what? And so we got his contact, did some back and forth, and that's how the whole clothing line came about. Yeah, just met him at Foot Locker. Before that, though, we were working with people. I remember like trying to source some clothes from Afghanistan, and it was just not coming out how we were wanting.
That's crazy.
They're not known for manufacturing clothes.
Right. No.
It's weird.
That's crazy. And then obviously Tan with the food truck.
Yeah.
Which was there a connection, a family connection there with the food truck?
Like him opening that because of us?
Yeah.
He asked questions, and I'm the one that provided the truck, like the connection to buy the truck.
Nice.
But I think he saw the wave of like, just the hipster food truck and how much money can be made, and he had other influencers as well, but it wasn't just because of my family. He wouldn't have wanted to do it.
Shout out. Right.
We presented, the truck that he bought had a route though. It had like a more traditional route where you're not like selling hipster food, you're selling just more traditional fries and burgers.
Yeah.
But he didn't want it.
He was like, nah.
Yeah, he wants to sell the $15 bows.
Shout out to Slide Through Food Truck. But speak about that too, like, because you came back to Seattle, grab Tan, grab Johnny. Like, speak about the importance of doing that and like just that connection to like these are my homies. They're Vietnamese too.
Yeah.
And this is some different side.
I think when I moved back, it could have either went really south or really upwards when I moved down. When I moved back to Seattle after LA, that's like the point where you're like, okay, I can make this a living, or I could go back to a 9-to-5. And I remember just being really serious about it. David was telling me, don't underestimate how serious you need to be about it. I remember telling Tan and Johnny, like, a lot of the times when you see me, it's just going to be when we're working. Let's try to make work fun. Let's try to film ourselves talking. We're going to talk about the NBA. Film it, you know what I mean? People might think it's funny. So we started like our own talking segment, and I think they just really had my back too. Like, they really like helped me to where I'm at today for sure. Like their personality and just their support. There was always like, like even if something was whack, they would like, even if you come out with something whack, you always need a friend that tells you it's tight. Like you need someone that tells you it's whack, but you also need that one friend that just is down no matter what. And I think they were really down no matter what. Yeah, and I owe a big part of my success to those two.
Yeah, nice. And can you talk about the deal that you just signed? It's your big deal.
Oh,
we talking numbers. We talking.
No, I mean we ain't gotta talk numbers. I mean I want to get in your pocket, but
I want to take a step back and just let everyone know how hard it was a decision for Richie to take that leap of faith. Because I was in it, right? He was 22, 23, just got done with college, and he said, hey, I'm going after this dream, Mom. Really, it was on our mom. And she's like,
she was pissed.
She was like, no, you're not.
I remember.
I didn't come all the way from Vietnam to just have you go make some videos on YouTube. How you gonna take care of yourself, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's the youngest one, right? So he's always gonna still be my mom's like baby, right? Now he's a young man. But my mom at the time was really worried because she's like, and then the people don't know the struggle and hard work and the long nights you put in that it took to get there. And now they see the success and they thought it was like an overnight thing. Right. And I was there with Richie. I saw, the hard decision he made. He almost didn't make the decision because my mom and some of my more conservative siblings were saying, go take the safe route, right? I remember he was talking to me about it, and I'm more of a risk taker. I'm a more entrepreneur, and I just told him, go for it, because I was in entertainment, and I really enjoyed that ride. And
weren't you considering moving down to LA at one point?
Yeah. To do the promoting thing bigger, and so Richie, he made a really hard decision. I remember for the first 2-3 years, he was struggling. Yeah. He was borrowing money. He didn't have like a nice place to live. My mom was always like, hey, move back. And he was like, just a little bit more. He was pretty close at that point, but I felt like he was going to give up and come back because it was so hard, right? You're a young man living in LA that broke, right, and you just have this dream, and your mom, which is like a traditional Asian mom, is all about like, school and being a doctor, a lawyer, or right, make something of yourself. And so we forget that, right, that, but he made the right decision. He definitely, he's in a good place. So
yeah, I think for her, and understandably too, she just didn't understand how the hell are you gonna make money. Right. Like to her, it just looked like kind of like silly videos, obviously. And,
right, foreign concept, yeah.
And I don't blame her for that. Obviously, like to me, it was even foreign, and I'm in this stuff. Yeah. David's really the one that like, this is how you're gonna get money. You know what I mean? Right. But yeah. To her, I think she was like, what is going on?
She's like, I grinded.
Yeah. You know when I felt like I kind of made it? Yeah. Is prior to moving down to LA, she used to always watch this channel, SBTN. Yeah. the Saigon Broadcasting Television Network. It's like this Vietnamese channel.
Yes.
All her friends have it.
Diana's mom watches
It's
it
like
every day.
It's like MTV, you know, obviously for them or whatever. And I had an interview on there. Like, and I was like, damn, I made it. Like, to my mom, I made it. Because it was the biggest platform to her. You know, like, that's what meant a lot to her. And it was like, I had a full, 45-minute length interview with, like, the main person. And I was like, yep. Thank you.
Hey,
so
that bought me some time.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that wasn't enough. She's like, no, I know you were on the channel and you had the interview.
Listen, that's dope. That's super dope.
Yeah.
That's super dope. Talk about your grind, like with Warring Properties.
Yeah. So when I got out of promoting, I had to do something. I never finished college. I started college, but I never finished it, and I barely graduated high school. It took me like 5 years, and I barely graduated. So then I had limited options. All I knew was a promoter, and being a promoter was like being a drug dealer. I felt it was a weird thing, right? I was dealing hope and fun and drinks to people, but it was my whole identity was tied into it. Like I felt like I was Rango, the promoter, and that's why people knew me and respected me. I didn't know, like, if I'm not promoting, then who would I be? And there was a lot of ego that was tied to it. So I was like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And it was so hard. And even now you'll meet some older promoters that are still in the game after like 20 or 30 years, and because they don't know what else to do. That was their whole identity. But after Pete got shot, I knew that was like I had to get out, I had to do something. So I was like, what am I gonna do where I didn't have to go back to school for a long time, where I can still hustle. I had a big network, I could still tap into that network. And then it was natural for me to think about real estate. So I got in, and it was tough. The first year, I thought I was gonna get my license and just really come up in real estate because I was a really successful promoter. And like riding a bike all over again, you have to earn your stripes in your first year. So I had to work, I had to get back on the catering truck. So that's where, because I had to make money. I wasn't promoting no more, and real estate hadn't got off the ground. So I worked on the truck from 5 a.m. to 2.
Would you say that was like a big shot to your ego?
Yeah.
Making all this money promoting. Now you're back on the coach truck, the roach truck.
Yeah, the roach coach. That was the nickname for it, the roach coach. And I hated that name when we pulled up. They're like, the roach coach is here.
Oh, no.
I hated that name. Yeah, it was a humbling experience, and I really enjoyed that time when I worked there, because I saw how much blessing that truck was to our family at that point. Right now I'm older, 27, 26, 27, and so I got into real estate. And I was a regular real estate agent. I worked for somebody for the first 2 years, and after a year of doing real estate full time and working on the truck full time, my second year in real estate, I got off the catering truck because now I got money, and so I started doing real estate full time my second year, and then the entrepreneur spirit came in, and I started my own real estate company my third year, and the original name of it was Warring Properties. And
that's what I'm talking about. That's when I'm talking about being on the catering truck, and you had that idea.
Yeah, and that's the only time Richie and I really overlapped working on the catering truck. Yeah. And I guess I got inspired.
I was working on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were waking up hella early.
4:35, man.
Yeah.
Don't give ourselves too much. I was late all the time.
Me too.
I remember I pushed that catering truck to miles per hour levels you don't want to push a truck to, just to make it to our first spot.
Man.
My mom was pissed.
Yeah, Mom will always be pissed every time we were late in the morning.
I was always late.
That's hilarious. Warring Properties was in the ID.
Yeah.
In Chinatown.
Chinatown, Seattle.
But now y'all are in you're in Bellevue.
Yeah, so we just did this big deal with Century 21.
Yes.
So
Hey.
Thank you.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
I know you've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah, it's a big blessing.
Yeah.
We were independent for 9 years as Warring Properties, right? Independent, where it's like moms and pops set up limited resources, limited means, just grinding, sweating, doing your best, right? Because you're not backed up by corporate or anything.
Yeah.
And then and we started doing really good. And then we got the attention of a couple of real estate big franchises that, they come around, they want to partner or buy smaller independent companies. That's how they grow. And then, so they approached me about 2 years ago and started letting me see underneath the hood of everything they do. And then everything made sense after looking at a couple other brands and feeling out those guys. And so we brokered the deal about 2 months ago, 2018. And I felt like we were already in a really good place. At the time, we had 3 offices, 100 brokers, and remember, we got there with limited means. Like when I first started Warren Properties, I had like $50 in my pocket and like a dream. Wow. That's all I had, right? And just from there, now getting to 100 brokers and 3 offices, that we were probably one of the biggest independent real estate companies in this region. Man. But now you just poured gasoline onto the fire of what we were doing before. So now we just got all this backing with corporate and all these system and tools and resources and branding, advertisement that we would have never gotten. Yeah. And it's a big blessing. I'm really excited about the next 10 years, what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
And so before we close, speak about that. What does the future hold?
What's
for
next?
You? What's next for you and Warren Properties?
It's keep on doing what we're doing. We want to grow. They're Century 21. They're the biggest real estate company in the world. They're the biggest. But they've been neglecting the Pacific Northwest, as in the market share. Mm-hmm. So then that's why they picked us to kind of be their flagship company to really do a lot of, they call it M&As, mergers and acquisitions, to go off and buy other companies and partner up with other real estate companies so we can grow. So I'm really excited about that. So we're gonna do a lot of that this year and next year, and then I also like developing and investing in real estate. So I'm gonna make more time to build and develop, because that's doing real estate it will create you a comfortable lifestyle just being in the real estate industry, but owning real estate will make you wealthy, and everybody knows that. So just making it happen.
And I would be remiss if I didn't ask any tips for soon-to-be home buyers who are looking at this market like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's...
Get used to Kent.
Shoot,
first of all, shout out to Kent, because back in the day, folks from Seattle would be like, "Oh man, you from Kent?" And now folks in Seattle like, "Yo man, I hope I can get in this place in Kent." Like,
yeah, man, we're probably the hottest market in the nation right now. We gone up 12% in the last 12 months in this region, and people are starting to not be able to reach and buy these homes because they're so expensive now. And so any advice I have for any soon to be homeowners is get in. I think you're okay. Just get in, stretch a little bit, get something that you're comfortable paying, your monthly mortgage amount, and get in, because I think it's going to continue going up. If people keep on asking me what I think the market's going to go, and I look at it like San Francisco and Napa Valley prices here in the next 5-6 years. And I could be wrong, but I could be right also, because that's where it's going.
It's not slowing down.
Just looking at the trends,
yeah, it's not slowing down.
Our tech industry here is so strong. That's what drove Napa and Silicon Valley and the Bay. Yeah. And we're between there, and we're between Vancouver, BC, which is a really hot market too. So that pushes our prices sky high. Yeah, it's gonna be hot. If you can get in, and you won't regret it. Or just maybe move farther out, like Auburn. There's some good potentials. Everett, you still get a good deal.
Tacoma.
Shout out to Tacoma.
Shout out to Spanaway. Tacoma.
I think even Tacoma's getting
Bremerton.
Crazy. Olympia.
Right. Hey man, get in where you fit in. And then Richie, what's next for you?
Just try to get 1 million subscribers. Try to take the clothing to the next level. I think really try to continue putting my friends in positions where they can make money, and see them come up as well, and build their online personalities and whatever else they want to do and support them.
You're at 700 and something thousand.
About 800.
Listen, let's get it there. Let's get it there. So if you haven't subscribed to Richie Lee's YouTube channel, just do it. Go subscribe your friends, your little siblings. There's some real life advice there. Get your fashion up. Cause my fashion, that's where I get all my fashion tips from. I got my backpack, cause Richie said go get that backpack.
What shirt are you wearing right now?
Oh, this is from the Richie Lee collection. This that OG underneath.
I never seen someone style it with a blazer.
Hey, you feel me? Hey,
we didn't plan that. We both got
that's crazy.
You see me?
Shout out to Richie Lee.
You see me?
That was an act. That was a nice accent.
Hey, my God, rapping.
And can I add one last piece before we close?
Yeah.
I think we forget too that us growing up, we got a lot of people that loved us and supported us and gave to us when we had nothing. I remember when we were living in the housing projects, there were these people that just came around and gave us free Christmas presents every year, and we were housing kids. We never got anything, especially from our parents, and they just dropped off like really nice presents to us. And then even my mom, like, she always had a big heart growing up. She always like fed housing kids where their parents were not home all day long. She was like, hey, come in, evening time, I give you a meal, so that all. And she always helped out at our church and sponsored like families that just came over from Vietnam to live with us, for a couple months.
For sure.
So that was a big influence on me growing up. And so, I always like to give back to the community.
Absolutely.
And so as we're getting blessed, I always make it a point to support, like, the homeless and at-risk youth. And so we're always giving back, like, community events and stuff like that. So, I encourage everyone, even when you don't have, if you feel like you don't have, just do what you can, just
give your time.
Give a smile, give your time. And the world works where I always hear, like, let's say somebody wants to be really successful financially, for example, right? Give what you want. So if you want to be more successful or health or whatever, or more money, even though you have little, give it and have your hands be open. Now you're open to receive that more because you're giving what you want. And I think we all should make the community a better place, especially right now in this the world we're in politically and stuff, and there's all this weird division going on that we should, things like this, these kind of podcasts, Richie's story, my story, you guys' story, it really brings the community together and help us remember what's important, which is each other.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say shout out to moms who retired off the food truck.
Oh, yeah.
And gave it to the sibling who was in Vietnam with grandma, who came back with her family. Like that, man, that portion of the story is super dope. That like the food truck is still running. And just that the circle.
They came full circle,
Yes.
Full circle.
Yes. Thank y'all.
Yeah,
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. It's cool telling the story. Obviously, we're not doing this podcast like we made it or anything. We're just, we're still on the journey, I think.
Absolutely.
Everybody's still on their journey. And
That's it. Yeah, I mean,
still trying to figure it out.
And so our big thing this season is the last season we interviewed like artists and folks who were doing entrepreneurship on like after their 9 to 5 and on weekends trying to figure it out. And this season is more so folks who took that leap of faith and are 10 toes in into entrepreneurship in hopes to inspire the folks from the last season. And so thank y'all. So
got the whole thing planned out.
Yeah, man. I'm sure folks will be super inspired listening to this. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yes. This is it.
If you liked what you heard, be sure to donate so we can keep going. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube, so be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. You have no idea how much it helps. We also want to know what you think. You can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can even use the hashtag #NoBlueprint. And if you're really down with the movement, you can join our Patreon account and become a patron, where you'll get exclusive content and limited edition merchandise. No Blueprint is powered by Ambassador Stories. We share stories of the people, places, and spaces that bring soul to our communities. No Blueprint is recorded at Ambassador Stories Studios and co-produced with me, Maya Aina. Hear more episodes of No Blueprint and get official No Blueprint merchandise at noblueprintpodcast.com.